Rod was giving me some tips on how to approach this shot out at
the Reserve Vineyards and Golf Club.
So how do you
Let's
do
go
this?
to it. This is a beautiful live picture from just a little bit earlier this morning. Look at the blue sky, and that's a par 5. And then Chris was like, "Boy, that pin is inviting."
It's inviting.
And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm gonna."
A real man would go for it.
Left of the green and chip in. Anyway, pretty shot though. And on this Friday, you know, we thought this would turn out to be a nice day. And it really has continued to be so. So a few scattered showers around today, but we don't think much rain. And most of the showers, in fact, will stay up in the mountains. Let's go back to the weather map and just take you into your weekend really, really quick. So here we are, 1 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Futurecast showing some scattered showers, but not much ever between Portland and Salem. It's mostly showers in the mountains. And then this pretty much even dries out mountain showers at 8 o'clock tonight, if this is correct. There's a little push of rain coming in after midnight tonight. Here we are, 2 a.m. And then there might be a break in the action, or at least just a shower around tomorrow morning. So Saturday afternoon, rain picks up, but this is 1 o'clock. This brings it in mid to late afternoon. Here we are at 5 p.m. Fairly wet for your Saturday evening plans, and then more of just a typical scattered shower day on Sunday. Our forecast, check out the lows. No day below 40. That's crazy. And 54 today, still 50 or better tomorrow, and perhaps on Sunday as well. So the mild weather certainly continuing, Mr. McGinness.
Not exactly the kind of weather that you think about, you know, lighting a crackling fire in your fireplace.
Gotta stay warm.
Yeah, because it's so warm. But you know, a lot of folks, of course, you know, you've got a fireplace. I've got a fireplace at home, and I'd love to use it in the fall and winter. But you know what? Wood smoke, rough on the lungs, rough for those with you know, sensitivity to allergies and particulate matter and whatnot. Our environmental reporter, Keely Chalmers, actually just produced a really nice story about kind of furthering the evidence of wood smoke and how it impacts our health. And also, the Oregon DEQ is now getting some more funding for more sensors to be put around the area to detect particulate matter in the air. So we're going to go ahead and listen to Keely's story, and then we want to kind of follow up and kind of talk about some safe wood burning practices.
The next time you light up that fireplace or wood-burning stove, Oregon Environmental Council wants you to consider this. That smoke that's coming out of your chimney is contributing to a big health concern.
It causes everything from asthma to eye irritation to cancer in large protracted exposures, bronchitis, respiratory illnesses.
That's because of the particulate matter in the smoke, the microscopic bits suspended in the air that can get into our bodies and cause trouble. And new data from the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality shows Oregonians are producing a dangerously high amount of that particulate matter. It found that 12.8 million pounds of dangerous particulate matter are released into Oregon's air by wood stoves and chimneys every year. That's more than half the pollution from the 2017 Sonoma County wildfires, which burned more than 100,000 acres and emitted an estimated 20 million pounds of particulate matter.
It doesn't matter where it's burned. It could be burned outside, it could be burned inside, but at the end of the day, the same amount of pollution and the same types of pollution that are coming out in burning wood are coming out in wildfires.
The Oregon counties with the most pollution, Multnomah came in first, with Washington and Clackamas rounding out the top 3. And it's important to note, this is just the information collected from households.
It doesn't take into account the amount of pollutants that are coming from commercial or business burning.
The state legislature recently provided DEQ with money to help individual households swap out their dirty wood stoves for cleaner sources of heat. In the meantime, Oregon Environmental Council and the DEQ are encouraging people to burn less wood and instead opt for cleaner heating options. In Portland, Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
So to understand correctly, to me, one of the takeaways was there are some days during the year we're actually putting out the same amount as a relatively small wildfire would, or even a moderate wildfire.
And you're talking about, of course, the 3 most populous counties in Oregon that, you know, a lot of folks have fireplaces and whatnot. The conditions that kind of lead to that a lot, you know, we in the wintertime when we're not dealing with the rainy and breezy weather that we get a lot, we get those inversions where the warm air kind of sets up shop overhead, and then nothing stirs that stuff out, nothing mixes it out, and we get stuck in it, and we all breathe it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
one of the solutions, of course, I mean, obviously to cut back on the amount of wood that you use, but also, something I stumbled on the EPA website is build a better fire. So I want to go ahead and kind of check that out. The EPA's got a whole website on this.
Okay.
On wood smoke and your health and how to build a better fire. In a presentation that they put on their website here is burn dry firewood. And while this seems like a no-brainer, you'd be surprised about the number of people that just they get some firewood, they throw it in their fireplace and call it good. But you're doing a lot of disservice there. For starters, it's really inefficient because most of the heat that you produce in the fire itself just goes into evaporating the water that's in the wood. So season your firewood, and one of the things that you're seeing here on screen is the EPA recommends a moisture content of about 20%, and you can buy one of those moisture meters online for like $10-15, or you can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. But basically 20% is like the magic number for dryness of firewood to burn and produce a healthier fire. One of the other things I came across, and Rod, this is kind of interesting from a local landscape and mulch supplier and whatnot, is Dean Innovations. They've got this little chart on their website that actually shows kind of the heat output of the various firewood species that are native here in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of folks use Doug fir because it's got a lot of sap and resin in it to start a fire, but you get the maples and the oaks are your best bet for good hot fires. And any chimney sweep will tell you that a hot fire is better.
It's a safer fire.
Is a safer fire. You don't want to leave your fire smoldering because then you're putting up unburnt material into the air that's loaded with more of those chemicals. You're also leaving yourself open to the possibility of a chimney fire or a house fire because that stuff sticks to the liner of your wood stove or your chimney. So those are some pretty good tips there from the EPA, and I think that we could all probably cut back a little bit on the amount of wood that we burn, and certainly one of the other things I wanted to point out too is that Multnomah County has from time to time, when the air conditions warrant, they will put out a wood smoke burn ban. They'll have a voluntary restriction and then a mandatory restriction day on days where they know just adding anything to the air is just no good for any of us. And we're not in that type of a situation today because we've got rain and we've got the air stirred up, but there's I don't know. I'm just going to take a educated guess here that we're a good 30 to 50 days a year from the fall through the winter where we have those burn restriction days in town.
And let's go and take a look at the air quality map today. We have this plugged into the sensors from DEQ, and you see all the green dots. That's just good air quality. Chris mentioned no temperature inversion today, and a little bit of a south breeze out there, and it's not an atmospheric setup for stagnation. So we're looking pretty good. But often when we tell you about these air stagnation advisories, the wording that comes down in those advisories will tell people, please cut back on your burning, please cut back on your driving, cut back on anything that will actually put some sort of particulate or pollutants into the air. Yeah,
I love a fire. I love sitting by the fire in the afternoon or evening, and on a weekend. But there's days when you're not helping everybody out when you do that. So if you are going to burn firewood, and I do, burn good firewood, burn hot fires, but maybe less of them is a message to put out there. And also, if you got one of those really old wood stoves, they're pretty inefficient, maybe revisit that.
Okay, let's leave on a happy note. Today's fantastic.
It's Friday.
Mid-50s, we got some sun. It's Friday. We'll see you next week.